down. Hey, I know it's hard, no, it's hard to remember sometimes, but you gotta keep.
Well, good evening and welcome to the Carolyn Holt Show. Man, I can't believe it's August the 8th already. It's like the summer is already gone. Well, I want to welcome you to today's show because yesterday I had the opportunity to attend a wedding. Now, the unusual part was that this wedding was held on a Sunday afternoon, and I love that. I think if I get married, I might have my wedding on a Sunday afternoon. Now, I know you're going to want to call tonight's show because we're going to be talking about weddings and marriage. So if you'd like to participate in tonight's show, the phone number is area code 323-293-3375. Again, that's area code 323-293-3375. But like I said earlier, the wedding was beautiful. I wished I could show you photos, but they haven't released their official photos from the wedding. So the pictures that I took, I can't show you yet, but it was indeed beautiful. But I was struck by a lot of things while I was at the wedding. And one of them is the details that people go into in planning their wedding. Man, they take care of everything. Centerpieces. I mean, I was looking at these, I don't know what they were for, but they look like diamonds to me. And even the children there, they were fascinated by whatever these things were. All I know for sure, they were very beautiful. This wedding was, again, it was my nephew. It was his second marriage, and so was the bride's second marriage. And I really like my new niece-in-law. I think that she is a wonderful person. And I give my nephew credit for choosing a wonderful woman, because I think that when you decide to get married, that is one of the things that should happen, is that you should both enhance each other. But she's a very poised woman. I think she's very trustworthy, which I think is excellent for any man, but for my nephew in particular, because I've heard several ministers say that men are looking for a safe place to put their heart. They're looking for a woman that they can entrust their hearts to. And I believe my new niece to be such a woman. I think that he also chose her because she has excellent character. She is really a woman of her word. She has demonstrated that in his life. But most of all, I think that she has made him a better man, and it's evident. You know, many times I've heard the old story about a lot of times women start to date men and they say, oh, well, you know, I helped to really improve him, and I stopped him from wearing black socks and now he wears socks of different colors. I don't know if you've ever heard that, but I have. Well, I wouldn't say that that's what she has done for him, but I know that she has really helped him in terms of his faith and his spiritual life and growth. And I think that's very important, because if you establish a core value system from which both of you can work from, I think you have a very good chance to have a good marriage. Now, I'm speaking as a person, I have never been married, but I'm speaking as a person who has been told these things. So that's why I want the people who are actually married to call tonight, because it's my understanding marriage can be very challenging, but it can be very beautiful at the same time. I think you get two in one. You get the challenges, but there's also a very special joy in sharing your life with someone who adds great benefit. And I think that that has certainly been the case for my nephew. He also he has adult children, but I can see that his role in their life has and did change, and I really think that she helped him to see the importance of being, I guess, a father that's really engaged in your children's lives, so that they can always know where they stand with you, especially, you know, in a divorce situation. But I think she has given him wings to fly in that area in terms of being a great father and a great dad. And it's wonderful to see, because I would say he has an excellent relationship with his children, and his daughter has two daughters, so he's a grandfather as well. The other exciting thing was that since this was the second marriage for both, I think that they came with specific intent to work really hard to make sure that they had the right foundation and the right things in place to avoid divorce, if you will. They made, I think, a special effort to get to know each other, to have an understanding, to be on the same team, because they are both Christian, and in the belief system of the Christian, the idea is that you're to be equally yoked together, so that when challenges or issues confront your relationship, you're to pull together and not pull apart. So I would say that they were very much equally yoked, and they both have the same desire to grow in terms of their spirituality and make that a cornerstone in their relationship. And that, just as a family member, that was very good to see. The other thing I think she really helped with is his health. He had some health challenges. And as we talked, I think, earlier in the year, we talked about how men do not like going to the doctor. Well, I understand that. But the important thing to know is that whether you like it or not, you kind of have to go. You know, you need to get a checkup. If you want to have a long life, you need to make sure that things are operating as they should. And I think when men have a special person, they will listen and they will take better care of themselves. But the other thing that was really obvious in terms of her influence on him is not only the sock situation, but the way he dresses and the way he now carries himself is very impressive. I like what I see in him. A big smile on his face. When he came down the aisle yesterday, the whole audience erupted, because I have never seen a man smile so hard at his wedding. My nephew was grinning from ear to ear, and it's interesting because all the single men in the audience just erupted, and they chided him and they teased him. But after the ceremony, I saw them all coming to him, you know, with well wishes and, you know, congratulating him on making such a fine decision. And it's good to see that men can let their friends go and make a commitment to somebody that can add a lot to their lives. So I wish them all the best. And when they allow me, I'm going to show you the wedding photos. They decided they're going to honeymoon in Hawaii, and I think they said they're going to take a trip to Mexico. So they're just going to have fun before they settle down and come back to the reality called marriage. And in the, we're going to go to break shortly, but after the break, we're going to really examine marriage, because what struck me with all these fine details at this wedding, I don't think people plan marriage the same way. A lot of times I think they think that it's going to just automatically happen on their terms because that's what they want. And maybe that's true. I don't know. So I'm counting on you to steer me in the right direction, because that's my thought. But I could be wrong. And so if you think that perhaps I don't have enough information, you can feel free to call me at area code 323-293-3375, because marriage is an interesting state, and people are still searching for the formula or the process that will help to keep them together. I don't know what that is, so I'm not sitting here telling you that I know the key, because I don't. But one of the people that his information that I'm going to share with you, he's a licensed marriage and family therapist. His name is Dr. Jim Walkup, and he has some thoughts about getting married and staying married. And I do too, because I kind of put together a list after making these observations of some of the things that I noticed and some of the things that I think that couples should be cognizant of when they are planning to be married. And hopefully there's one area in particular I would love for you to participate, and that's in the area of idiosyncrasies, because it's my understanding many times the idiosyncrasies in a marriage can cause a lot of havoc, even though it's considered a small thing and perhaps something that you shouldn't sweat. But some of the things that I'm going to mention tonight, now I've heard that couples really have serious battles over some of these things. So I want you to stay with me, because when I come back from the break, we're going to talk more about planning the marriage. Okay? Come back after the break.
Mastering math can be big fun for you and everyone. Play it each and every day. Master math the easy way. Sing it, play it, Math Maze.
Why not turn math time into fun time with Math Maze, the new game craze? Get yours today at mathmaze.us.
Mom, now you can help your son master math and have big fun. Play it each and every day. Master math the easy way. Sing it, play it. Math Maze.
Make sure your child owns the skills necessary for success in high school algebra. Get it now. Mathmaze.us. Mathmaze.us.
And now you can help your daughter play it like you know you oughta. Play it each and every day. Master math the easy way. Say it, play it. Math Maze.
Math Maze cards contain both Spanish and English. Get yours today at mathmaze.us. That's mathmaze.us.
Wow. He says he just want to get married, so we'll be happy all the time. Well, if he doesn't give up his friends, it doesn't sound like that's what's going to happen. Because it seems like that's her big complaint. Well, I don't know, but according to that song, that is an issue. Friendships. And if you're planning to get married, I think that's one of the important things to consider, both females and males. Because while we as women complain about them and their friends, and some of our complaints may be legitimate, they have the same issue with us. They complain about our friends, and I can understand why, because I think when we are upset with our guy, we do report a lot to our friends, and the friends, they stay upset and angry. And you perhaps work it out with him and move on to something else, and they're still angry about what you've shared with them. So I think you have to give that some consideration. But before the break, we were talking about planning a marriage and just some of the things I've observed and what I think should certainly be looked at before you make that commitment. I guess one of the main thing is backgrounds. I think the more similar the background, it's possibly easier to make things work. I'm not saying that the backgrounds have to be exact, but unless you are really married to an open-minded person, it's good to have similar interests, similar beliefs, because at some point, let's just say you want to have a family. Now, I have known of people who got married and never had a conversation about whether they were going to have children or not. Just because you get married, it's my understanding that you should not assume that the other person is ready to be a parent. That is something that perhaps you should discuss and plan before you get married. That's one of those important details, is how I would characterize it. And not only if you're going to have children, how many children? He might be thinking 1, you may be thinking 4. So these are things that you shouldn't hold off discussing because you don't want to run the other person away. I think it's really important to make that decision, because that can be a deal breaker in a marriage. If one person wants 1 kid and the other person wants 4, and they are determined to have 4 children. So that's just something I think that you should consider. Also, if faith is important to you and spirituality, if that's important, you certainly need to discuss that before marriage and before children, because it's hard to reel that in once there's no platform in place. So often I've heard children who were from situations where the parents were of mixed faith. I've heard them talk about how difficult it was for them to come to some kind of decision, because mom believed one thing, dad believed the other. They both felt that they were right, and the children are kind of caught in the middle. So you should certainly, in terms of your background, do get around to discussing how you're going to worship, and especially if you decide on how many children you're going to have and create a family. I think that's pretty important. Also, views on money. Now, statistics suggest that in a marriage, that money issues is perhaps the number one cause for breakups. And I believe that when people get married, I think that they believe that their love will suffice and things will go however they imagine. But money can be a real issue. But I'm going to add another thing into the mix. Not just money, credit can be a big issue. And the reason I say that is no longer can you just have cash and buy everything. You can do that, but it's almost impossible to live a lifestyle and not have credit. Not only should you have your credit checked often, your spouse should have their credit checked often as well. Because if you decide to make like a huge purchase and you don't have the cash for the huge purchase, the credit will come into play. And it is it's very necessary if you're going to move forward in a relationship. And so it's a hard subject to bring up, but you almost have to if you're going to grow together and you want some larger things in life. Like I said, cash is great. I'm not saying that you shouldn't make cash purchases, but credit is going to be important at some point. So credit reports need to be discussed honestly, I believe, before you get married. Because sometimes if you plan it and you take a look at it, then you can delay the date about when you're going to get married so that you can have some peace of mind once you're there. Just food for thought. I'm not telling anybody what to do. I'm just saying that perhaps that's something that you want to take a look at. Now, if you have some other thoughts about that and you are married, please feel free to call the show at 323-293-3375 and share with us what we're missing here. The other area, I think you should consider, I guess, is life experiences and what kind of family each of you come from. I know only children can have very different ideas about how things should be handled regarding their possessions versus a person who comes from maybe a large family and, you know, they're used to just using other people's stuff and, you know, doing things that an only child might absolutely go berserk over. So life experiences is key because how you think about things that you own can certainly come to play in a marriage. So that's something that you would want to put on your planning list. How are we going to work all this out? The other aspect that I think is important is how you communicate, because one word may mean something entirely different to your partner. An example of what I'm talking about is communication in terms of, let's say you're upset. I know this couple, they got married, and he was from I guess a wealthy family, and she was from, I guess, middle class. And in his family, you were not allowed to slam doors. That's just not something you did. You know, you were refined and you had certain manners. On the other hand, she felt that that's just what you do. That's what her parents did when they got upset with each other and they argued, they would slam doors. Well, she decided in her anger with him at one point that she was going to slam the door on him. And he went berserk because for him, slamming the door meant that's the end. There's nothing else to talk about. This is over. This is final. And in her mind, you know, it's like, oh, just leave me alone already, okay? That's how she looked at it. So door slamming to him meant something totally different than it meant to her. So you kind of have to see how people navigate things, because what's nothing to you can be a big deal. I'm going to use my own family as an example. My parents, God rest their souls, they're both deceased. But I remember that they, from time to time, would curse each other. And I as a child, I did not like it. From a child, I guess that's one of my pet peeves. I don't like cursing. But because to me, the cursing meant that you are degrading the other person. You know, I'm taking it all, I'm being very serious and very upset about it. And I think to them, it meant, listen, just leave me alone. I don't want to hear what you have to say. And so if I have to call you some of these interesting names, you'll get the message and you'll stop talking to me. So that's why I'm saying the way we communicate, not only verbally, but non-verbally, maybe that's something you should take a look at and put that in your plan. Well, how is it that I'm going to be married to a person who yells a lot and curses a lot when they're upset, or to a person who's passive and they don't say anything, and I'm yelling and screaming, and so I'm thinking, oh, well, it's okay to do this because she's not or he's not saying anything, so must not bother him. So I think that these are seemingly unimportant, but they are important issues. And the last area that I think that should be planned and discussed and talked about, as I said earlier, is the area of idiosyncrasies. And by that I mean the little things that just really get on your nerve. For instance, leaving the top off the toothpaste container. Now, some people, if you want to have a fight, leave the top off the toothpaste. Now, to me, that's not that big of a deal, but I do know people who think that you have committed a cardinal sin if you leave the top off the toothpaste, because it does tend to make it dry out, and it can get on the counter, and you know, I get that, but to me it's not a big deal. But I do know to some couples and to some people that's a big deal. Leaving the toilet seat up. I guess for women that's like the number one pet issue is the toilet seat issue. I heard I guess a very well-known basketball player who is married to a wife that's very well-known. And I heard them say one time that before they got married, if they had talked about this, even though they had a great house with a fabulous bathroom, they would have had separate bathrooms, not just his and her sinks. They would have had separate bathrooms, because how he kept his and how she kept hers didn't match at all. And they had a toilet seat issue in particular. And as a woman, I understand that you don't want to get up and go to the bathroom and fall in. So I get how that might be a major issue. But like I said, again, plan it, because they said that if they had known this, they would have had 2 separate bathrooms. And I guess the other pet peeve is hair in the sink. I guess this is a big one for couples. I can certainly see where that would be a problem, because first of all, it can clog up the sink, and that can become a plumbing issue. So hair in the sink, I understand that. It's pretty, I guess it's pretty common, because, you know, people sometimes wash their hair in the sink. I would think they would wash it when they shower, but I guess not. I guess they do wash their hair in the sink, and finding hair in the sink, I guess, is another big issue. So all I'm saying is kind of get to know what some of the pet peeves and idiosyncrasies are, so that when you get married, you can live happily ever after. Now, again, I consulted an expert, and this man, he writes, I guess, for the Huffington Post, and again, his name is Dr. Jim Walkup, and he is a licensed marriage and family therapist, and he has about 7 things that he says can help to keep couples happy all the time. Now, I'm not so sure about all the time, but certainly I guess some of these things could certainly be helpful in a marriage. He says the first thing is that don't leave your marriage to luck or chance. And that's what we've been talking about, in terms of behavior. Talk about some of these things. When you notice things, don't just let them linger and say, well, I noticed that you did that, but I didn't say anything. Go ahead and say something because apparently it can make a big difference. The other thing is that you should be committed to choosing behavior that keeps each of you in a good spot or a good place. You don't want to do things that constantly come under criticism, like dropping your clothes in the middle of the floor and not picking them up and just automatically assuming that one of either you or your spouse will be the maid and always walk behind you and pick up after you and clean up after you. These are just nice things to do for yourself and each other. So you don't want to make it an unpleasant experience when you come home, especially if you've been traveling and your spouse is looking forward to seeing you, and the first thing you do is come in and throw things off and just drop them wherever and leave them there and say, oh, he or she will get that. I don't think that's what you should choose. The other thing that the doctor says is figure out a way to spend time together. And I guess it's kind of odd to think that that's something that you would have to remind people about, but maybe when you get married, because jobs and children come into play, you don't think so much about spending time together. But according to the doctor, it's very important to make your partner or your spouse a priority. Children are important, but if you don't treat your mate with some sense of love and care, then the children may not have a mom or a dad. So it's very important to spend time together and do something, find something that you both can enjoy. If you like going to movies or, some kind of activity that you can do together. Now, many therapists recommend this, but I know a lot of couples, they say, oh, I like to play cards or things like that, and I like to go dancing, and he never wants to dance. And well, did he want to dance a lot before you guys got married? So don't come after you get married and impose dancing on somebody, because if you didn't do a lot of dancing beforehand, it's probably not going to happen after you get married. So spend time together. So find ways to do that. And if he said that even it might be okay to make like a schedule, so that this week he's going to be at the office late, or she's going to be at the office late, but next week we're going to have more time and we can do, whatever. The other aspect that he says that you should plan to put into your marriage is to know your partner's love language. Now, most people say, well, what is that? I don't know what love language is. What are you talking about? Well, he's talking about touching. Now, apparently, touching goes a long way. So if during the day you have an opportunity to be in the presence of your mate, touching reassures them. It's very comforting. If your mate is the kind of person that likes surprises, that's a good way to tap into the language of love. Meals. If you or your spouse know how to throw down in the kitchen, apparently that's a really good way to express love language, because there's this old adage that the way to a man's heart is through his stomach. Well, apparently that's still true, and apparently it works for women too. If a man can cook, she'll follow him anywhere. So men, get your chef on so that you can make her feel special. It says, love language is the things that you do to make your partner feel loved. And there's a book, in the event if you're out there saying, well, I don't know what he's talking about love language. Apparently there's a book called The 5 Languages of Love by Gary Chapman. So pick up a copy of Gary Chapman's book and find out about love language and see what happens. The other recommendation is commit to hugging at least twice a day for at least 20 seconds. No matter what is going on in your life, if you see your spouse or partner every day, commit to hugging for at least 20 seconds. And the reason that the doctor recommends 20 seconds is because that's how long it's necessary to release oxytocin, which is, like a brain hormone, but he calls it the cuddle hormone. Now, I didn't say OxyContin. That's something totally different. But oxytocin, if you hug, if it's released, then it makes your spouse feel good, and it makes them think that all is right with the world. So there is a health and, I guess, feeling benefit to hugging. And he says to make sure you don't just do the little hug where you don't really touch. He says really hold your partner and hug them for at least 20 seconds so that the oxytocin can be released and you can feel all right with the world. The next advice he gives is to learn to listen without interrupting. Now, this is a challenge because most people want to talk and they want to express themselves, and if you say something to them that they don't like, they're going to interrupt. But his recommendation is don't interrupt. Allow for your partner to express their thoughts and their feelings, and to reduce their stress level if that's what's going on, and just to share. And many times, when they're talking and sharing, it's not that they want an answer from you. They're just venting. So allow for that. Allow for them to express themselves and say the things that they couldn't say at their job that day, or say to the boss. just listen. It's not that you have to give an answer, but also he recommends touching in this situation as well, because it shows that they're just not out there by themselves, that you're supporting them, you're listening to them, you care for them, and they don't have to feel like they are alone in whatever it is that may be causing them a challenge or an upset. So listening, that's a very good skill, and listening without interruption is even better. So remember that. The next thing that he offers is to keep each other in the loop. Many times people will make plans and they forget to tell the other person, and suddenly one person is thinking this is going to happen on Tuesday, and the other person has already gone on to do something else. He says that even if you have to make a calendar, do that, because you want to keep your partner in the loop. You want to communicate. If things change, they need to know that. They will be a lot happier if you make them aware of changes than to just spring the change on them and just say, oh, they'll be okay. They'll be all right. They may, but they may not. So to not have to decide one way or the other, just keep them in the loop. Now, if you have a suggestion about ways to plan a marriage and to stay married, I want to hear from you. My phone number is area code 323-293-3375. That's 323-293-3375, because I have a few more of these that I want to share. But we're going to go to break, and when we come back, we'll finish this up, and then I have some the fun side of marriage that we'll talk about.
Mastering math can be big fun for you and everyone. Play it each and every day. Master math the easy way. Say it, play it, Math Maze.
Why not turn math time into fun time with Math Maze, the new game craze? Get yours today at mathmaze.us.
Mom, now you can help your son master math and have big fun. Play it each and every day. Master math the easy way. Say it, play it. Math Maze.
Make sure your child owns the skills necessary for success in high school algebra. Get it now. Mathmaze.us. Mathmaze.us.
Dad, now you can help your daughter play it like you know you oughta. Play it each and every day. Master math the easy way. Say it, play it. Math Maze.
Math Maze cards contain both Spanish and English. Get yours today at mathmaze.us. That's mathmaze.us.
Well, I played that song in particular because do you remember when the president sang "Let's Stay Together" and the nation just went wild? The line in there says, whatever you want to do is all right with me. Well, I'm not so sure about that now. Because sometimes spouses and mates and partners can do some very interesting things, and it doesn't line up with the expectation of the other spouse or partner. Tonight we're talking about planning to be married. And the reason we're talking about planning to be married is because I attended my nephew's wedding, and I was just really impressed with the details of the wedding and all the wonderful and beautiful things that they had there, and the attention that they gave their wedding. And it just started me to thinking about, well, this is so nice and so beautiful. Hopefully they have planned their marriage to this extent, because I want them to stay married a long time. As I mentioned earlier, it's a second marriage for both of them. And so I want them to be happy. Now, I was talking about Dr. Jim Walkup and some of the recommendations that he has for planning a marriage and staying married. One of the things that he recommends is planning your future together. I think that's probably should be a priority, because how can you have a future if you don't quite know what it looks like? So planning your future together, I think, will stabilize your marriage. Because just think, if you are, let's say that you are a serious person, and your mate, I guess, could be classified as a slacker. That's a future you really need to plan, because there has to be a reason for the slacker to be interested in changing. And the serious person will just probably be angry all the time, because it might appear that the slacker is not pulling their weight. So you do have to think about your personalities. Also, I guess another example is risk takers. They're seen pretty carefree by someone that's serious. So these kinds of things you kind of need to pay attention to in terms of the personality. But he says that definitely work on planning your future, because you may not have one if you don't do a lot to plan it. It says that the important stuff in a marriage won't happen unless you plan it. Now, he goes on to say that these are the things you should plan. You should plan sex. You should plan to set goals. You should give thought to friendships, and etc. Now, on the issue of sex, I would hope that that would be a very important and frequent part of your marriage. So if you have a schedule that suggests that there's no time for sex, then you definitely need to get the calendar out and rearrange some things and set some priorities, because I'm not so sure how long your marriage is going to last if there's no sex involved. I think that is one of the cornerstones of marriage and the cornerstone for a relationship. So I think good sex will at least keep both of you interested. So do plan that one. Do plan to have sex, okay? The last thing he says is always remember to reassure each other. Now, that makes sense. It helps because it helps with the feeling of security. Frequently affirming how much you care about somebody, and how happy and pleased you are with them in your life is a good thing to do. Most people want to hear wonderful, grand things about themselves. Well, you may not need to go that far, but certainly reassuring your mate that you are there for them and that you support them and that they can count on you. As I said regarding the wedding yesterday, I believe that my new niece-in-law is a great example about trust and allowing my nephew to know that he can count on her. I think that's very important. So demonstrate that once you get married, that I'm here for you. I got you, boo, or whatever it is that they say. I think that will go a long ways. Earlier in the year, Dr. James Key was here, and he's writing a book, and he was talking about love, and he mentioned the love bank. And his thought is that you should make regular deposits into the love bank, because at some point you're going to say or do something that's going to require that you make a withdrawal. And so if you've made lots of deposits, it should be easy to make a withdrawal from the Love Bank because you've been consistent and you've shown your level of care. So reassurance and making Love Bank deposits certainly cannot help to have a wonderful marriage. I know that getting to this subject can be difficult because people, they want things to be easy. They don't want confrontation. And many times they feel that avoiding sticky subjects or tough subjects will make things okay and the problems will just go away. Well, I don't think so. And like I said, I have not been married, but I trust the wisdom and knowledge and guidance of people who have. And their recommendation certainly is to, it's lots of consideration. So if you are willing to make the investment, I believe that you can have a good marriage. But planning, as in any aspect of life, it's necessary and important because what is the adage that failing to plan is a plan to fail? Well, I can certainly see that would be certainly in relationship to marriage. So my suggestion is that if you have given marriage some thought and you're ready to take the big step, certainly plan it out. I just can't imagine just going into it thinking that everything, because we're in love, will fall into place. Well, it might. I'm not saying that cannot happen, but I am saying it is unlikely that that's what will happen. So do plan your marriage because I want you to be successful. There's a lady named Denise Jones. Denise Jones participated in a poetry contest because they wanted people to write about marriage. And I guess when Denise wrote this particular poem, she and her husband had been married, I think 40 years. And, 40 years of anything, that's a long time. So it's pretty interesting what Denise has to say. And so I want to share this poem with you. Now, there's a portion in here that's a little, I guess, crass. And I don't feel great saying this part, but it's part of the poem, so just bear with me. It says, girls, you have to work hard at being wed. It's not just about what you do in bed. You have to compromise in this life from wife to husband and husband to wife. He isn't perfect. They never are. He'll cherish you less than he does his new car. Well, I can see a problem there. He won't do the dishes or pick up his smalls. He'll belch and fart and scratch his balls. Now, I think that's a little crass, but she gets better. So she says, he won't give you flowers or take you out. Still, drinks with his mates. What's that about? Now, I hear a lot of complaints about that. But don't constantly shout. Give him a break. Just go with the flow. You must give and take. 'Cause you're no saint either. Just remember that. You won't change the wheel when the tires are flat. I've just done my nails. He'll hear you sigh. Then you'll render him speechless with a little cry. Well, I know that's true. Women have been known to do that. So she says, and girls, when you argue, fight and scrap, just remember why you married your lovely chap. Your knees still go weak when he cracks a smile. He's your Mr. Wonderful. And he wins hands down by a mile. So remember to always have a laugh together, to face challenges head on. Whatever the weather, talk and talk and talk some more. Make home your sanctuary behind that front door. For 40 long years, I've now been wed, but I wouldn't change a thing. It has to be said. There's been pain and heartache and dark moments and all, but we have come through it together, and we're still having a ball. Now, I thought that was so sweet because here she is, married 40 years and still having a ball. And that's what I would like for all of you, to be married for a long time, have a great time, enjoy each other, treat each other right. But in order to do that, perhaps you need to do some planning. So thank you so much. I look forward to next week's show. As always on this show, we want to remind you to keep your head up because we want you to move from misery to magnificence and from subpar to spectacular. Have a good night.
Mastering math can be big fun for you and everyone. Play it each and every day. Master math the easy way. Sing, play it, Math Maze.
Why not turn math time into fun time with Math Maze, the new game craze? Get yours today at mathmaze.us.
Mom, now you can help your son master math and have big fun. Play it each and every day. Master math the easy way. Sing, play it, Math Maze.
Make sure your child owns the skills necessary for success in high school algebra. Get it now. Mathmaze.us. Mathmaze.us.
Dad, now you can help your daughter play it like you know you oughta. Play it each and every day. Master math the easy way. Say it, play it, Math Maze.
Math Maze cards contain both Spanish and English. Get yours today at mathmaze.us. That's mathmaze.us.
Mastering math can be big.